thing, so, you know. A couple more seconds here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Campfire Talk. This is where we sit around the fire with a cold drink, put our feet up, and let the conversation flow. As you may have seen, for those who go on the JRG Facebook page, the lawnmower rivalry continues. We put a little video up there. I put a little video up there the other day of David on his mower. So, Tracy, I know you had a comment to say to him about that.
I was just going to tell him he's got to give me a couple of weeks, but I'm ready when he is. So just give me a little time.
Well, I just got to see, so I'm pulled over at a pit stop right now so we can do the show.
Forrest, you're going to have to get on riding mower and get in on that.
Well, I guess so. I tell you. Well, did you see on that you had several people suggesting that you needed to do a video stream of the incident with me and the Bigfoot in the cabin and the beans.
Somebody was it Shelley posted a picture up there?
Shelley Jones. Yeah. Shelley
Jones. Did you guys all see that?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, she was asking me who I thought should portray me.
Oh Lord. Oh man.
Yeah, Dave, just give me a couple of weeks, man. Let me get over this crap what I'm going through right now, and I'll we'll go head to head.
Take your time. Take your time.
If Miss Forrest wants to, we'll come down there and we'll cut her grass for her. We'll see who can do it quicker. And who drinks the most beer and eats the most sandwiches.
Uh-oh, does this mean I have to make sandwiches too?
Uh-oh.
I like roast beef myself. I can do with bologna, but roast beef really tops it, so.
Oh, boy.
Well, the only one that's eating around here is kosher, so I don't know if you guys...
I'm good with that.
It don't matter, right?
Right.
Hey, when it comes to beef, it's all good.
Hey, now, if you guys are on the mower and you're out there with sandwiches, you might get them juvies that have been hanging around, the ones that were coming around on the 4th. You might have some competition.
Yep.
Hey, as long as they don't try to take my roast beef sandwich, there won't be no fist fight going on.
Well, you never know now. They may snatch it right off that platform on the mower.
I'm going to point him to Dave. He's got a lot of bologna over there.
Yep.
Well, David,
not going to be very happy because we're cutting. I'm trimming up all those cedar trees over there. They're going to look like I'm getting rid of all the little sucker stuff down at the bottom and climbing them up to head height, so they aren't going to have anything to hide behind in my backyard.
I'm curious what's going to happen after you get that cut out of there.
Right.
Oh, yeah, well, I've thought about that, too.
Miss Forrest, how big around are those cedar trees? About how old are they,
Well, these particular cedar trees aren't that old. I'm going to say they're probably 20, 25, 30 years old. I've got some out here that my grandfather did that are probably 3 or 4 feet around. I mean, they're big cedars. They're out in another pasture, but these are ones that have grown up here in just the past few years, and so they provide pretty good shade, but they suck up a lot of water too. But
yes, ma'am.
But I'm gonna get all those limbs, and they're gonna be all trimmed up head height.
Have you a big old bonfire, Forrest?
Huh?
Have you a big old bonfire?
Oh, we've got already 3 big piles piled up out there, so we'll be having to call the fire department to let them know that we're going to be burning stuff. So.
That made me think about something. on my dad's property after I was an adult. I can't remember. I think I was still in the Army. But when I was a teenager, before going in service, I used to, he wanted all this stuff, old fencing and, and there were some old outbuildings I'd torn down. And over time, over a couple of years, I had dragged all this stuff down into one of the lower pastures with the tractor. So there was this huge pile of wood and stuff down there. So after my brother-in-law and I, after I think I was still stationed at Fort Lewis, we decided to go out there one weekend and burn that. And what we did was we ended up taking a couple of gas cans, pouring it all around because it was old, really old wood, a lot of it. And it was probably, 8-9 feet high, the pile, and probably 50 feet long.
Right.
And we decided, we weren't thinking, after all this gas was poured on it, we threw a match at it and it went woof and knocked us both off our feet. It was a hell of a fire, let me tell you.
Down here, we call that a brain fart.
Yeah.
Well, I think we had brain farts not thinking about what was going to happen when we lit that gas off. So, David, you were looking through some stuff. You were going to bring some stuff up to everybody here.
Yeah, I was looking back at some of your older videos when you did Blab, and I came across some I thought we could revisit. One of them was Sasquatch beliefs and opinions versus evidence and facts.
Oh, yeah, that's always a good topic because there's all kind of people that have beliefs. In fact, Forrest was talking to someone earlier who has beliefs. We won't mention names.
No.
The problem. Here's the problem. When somebody, they either have an experience or they find a lot of evidence or both, some people just sort of wig out. They don't quite know how to process it, I think is the right terminology. So what they usually do, and I've had so many people email me, and after we talk to them on the show or privately, they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much from you guys. Before we talked to you, I went out and did all this searching on the internet and Facebook and YouTube and all kinds of places. And they said there's so much stuff out there. And at first, sometimes some of these people just buy into anything and everything instead of looking at it objectively. And sometimes you can't convince people otherwise. You
Like
have
the
to bring them,
dog man thing?
Yeah, you have to bring them back to nuts and bolts arguments. You can't just fly off the handle. Like somebody texted me recently and said, I can't remember what the question was, something about portals. And I said, there's no such thing. Now, listeners out there might argue with that, but prove it. You got proof there's portals and something's using them? Bring it on. I'm all ears, but unless you got proof of that, I ain't buying it.
Well, it's like Ron Moorhead and his beliefs about Sasquatch entering trees to recharge.
Was that Moorhead's contention?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I don't know.
Do what now? Explain that one to me. That one just...
Go ahead, Dave. That's on you, man.
He was on an episode of Alaskan Killer Bigfoot a while back.
Uh-huh.
And he went out there to the island as a guest, and they were talking about the Sasquatch in the area, and he just blurted out his belief that he thinks the Sasquatch can dematerialize, go into a tree, and recharge and come back out.
What the hell are they? A hairy battery?
That got
For
me.
real.
I mean, come on.
We're going to what you said, after I had my encounter, it was about 7 or 8 months before I got in touch with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, I would spend, because I couldn't sleep at night, so I would sit up on the computer looking up things and stuff. And everything I read, I would look at it and say, well, hey, that makes sense, but wait a minute. no, that really doesn't make sense, So I guess I looked at it objectively, like you said, because I knew these were animals. It wasn't, there was no UFOs out that night. And if they were, they would have been struck by lightning and, scattered over North Alabama. But, so I don't really know how to explain what I'm thinking. Some people will say, hey, that makes sense. That's a good idea. Yeah, I believe that. I try to look at things and say, wait a minute, I start questioning and I'm like, no. These are just animals. They really exist. I just never knew they were there. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having an open mind, but you don't want it to be so open your brain falls out.
I was just thinking that exact thing.
I got to remember that one to tell one of my coworkers.
It's like, you don't want your brain to become a speed bump out there. So, Forrest, I don't know, what's your take on that one? I mean, they dematerialize and enter trees to recharge.
I don't have a take on that one. That's absolutely beyond ridiculous. So, and I don't care who the hell he is. I'd have told him, you know me, I don't, Moorhead, Schmorehead, that I'd have been happy to tell him what a nutcase he was. So, that's just.
And that's what I always tell people. It's like, yeah, I mean, give people enough room to hang themselves, but, and a lot of these people, they have their reputation and they're well known, but you got to listen to what people say. Does it make sense or not? Is it craziness? What's the motivation for coming out with stuff like that?
Well,
I don't understand it myself. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That's just kind of.
I didn't realize that was Ron that said that. I know he's got a book, Quantum Bigfoot. I actually have a copy of it because somebody told me I need to look at it, and I haven't had a chance to yet with all this move and everything, but.
It's probably in there, cuz.
Oh, I have no doubt. Now I want to go through storage and find the book and take a look at it. But
well, what blew my mind.
I heard he wrote that book, Quantum Bigfoot, and I thought, surely that is not in there. But, and there's enough people out there that are so naive and so, I don't even know what word to use for them, that will believe just anything that they hear. And, what's going on in our political, arena right now is a perfect example of that. I mean, you got, well, I don't even want to,
yeah, we don't want to go into that, but you're right. I mean,
what I'm saying is that you've got enough people that follow the nutcases, and then, somebody that wants to be, have a valid, truthful, bring a valid, truthful, facts in front of you, then they'll still go with the nonsense stuff. Is what I guess I'm trying to say, because there's plenty of people in this world that will absolutely just drop it and yes, that's true, yeah.
Well, example,
portals, UFOs, and oh my God,
Rainbow Sasquatch.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got told today that I needed to come to God because I believed in evolution. So I'm like, I went to a religious university. I went to a religious private university, and they didn't even, the church did not even harass people in our department about that. So why do I wouldn't even expect somebody, a common person, to harass. I mean, I need to come to God because I believe in evolution. I'm sorry, folks. I don't care if you don't believe in evolution. I'm not going to try to force it down your throat. But don't tell me that I need to come to God to if I do believe in it. So.
Well, one of the problems I have too is you see, especially on Facebook. Facebook is horrible for this. Is you'll see people post pictures of forest settings, places like that. And they won't even say anything. Sometimes they'll post a picture, and then you'll get all these people making comments. Oh, I see it. Where'd you take that? That was such a great picture. What was he doing? And I'm thinking, well, there isn't a damn thing in that picture except trees. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The one that you put out there, I was like, okay, well, if I could see anything, it might be interesting. And then the one that had the face in it, all I did was make a comment interesting, and the next thing I know, I had somebody, oh, you have you seen this? Do you believe this? No, I actually took that off because I said, just because I said that I thought this was interesting with a question mark, big question mark, that I'm believing it, that no, there's a big. If I believe it, you'll see me going, yeah, that's for real,
Well, sometimes I'll ask a person, where is this from? Did you take this picture? And usually it's with footprints. And then the response is almost always, like 99.9% of the times, oh, well, that was from another site.
Yeah. Or I found it on the internet.
Where did this come from? Do you know the person who took the picture? And I've even actually tracked down sometimes the people that take the picture, and then, information is very sparse, if any, that's forthcoming in regards to where did this come from? How long ago was it? Did you find other prints? Things like that. That's why I'm asking if I want to ask a question, I'm serious about asking the question, and if they're hiding information, then I'm very skeptical about it, which is, like I said, most of the time.
Well, Will, let me tell you something regarding photographs and stuff like that. My wife has an interesting sideline. She does it to make a little money on the side and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She, as a hobby, years ago, got started with Photoshop.
Oh.
And she restores pictures. People can give her a picture that was like water damaged or something.
Yeah.
Of a relative, and she will go back in and restore it, She mostly does it as a hobby, but she's actually making a little money doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that she's done for me, she's known ever since we met that I was really interested in, space travel and landing on the moon and stuff. So she did up a picture of, she put my face in Neil Armstrong's spacesuit. And it really looks like I'm in outer space,
Right.
And so, photographs, I really don't know if I would trust anymore. To me, now photographs of footprints, that's one thing. It's something there,
right?
But we sat down and she did this one day. She said, "I can put anything anywhere." So
yeah.
I walked out back and I took just a picture of the woods out back, and she sat there for about 3 or 4 days. She said, "Okay, come look at this picture now." And she had put 4 Bigfoot in that picture. And there was only one that didn't quite, it stuck out. I saw it as soon as she pointed. I said, "There's Bigfoot right there." She said, "But look closely." And there were other ones. So I don't know. For me, it's going to take video footage,
I can give you an example of that, too. I have a picture that I took, I think it was 2007, in an area that's adjacent to Bluff Creek, not that far from the film site. And there was a couple lakes up there, and a buddy of mine and I had gone to that area year after year, and we'd always talk. You could drive to the one lake, but the other one you couldn't. There was no road or anything to it. And I'm always leery of, snakes and stuff in that area. So I didn't really want to go traipsing off, through the brush over there and have a timber rattler bite me in or something. But that year we were up there and you can see the lakes a ways away from the road we were on, Forest Service Road. And we could see that the one was dry, the one we'd never gotten to go to. And I said, geez, we should really probably try to go over there, because maybe, we walk around the basin of it, so maybe there's prints or something we'll find over there. So, we hiked off through the timber. It wasn't a real long hike. No snakes, thankfully, but, we got over there. And of course the bottom of the lake was covered with this really thick, tall grass. And had we been there earlier in this year, we might have seen something over there, but there was nothing to be seen in that thick grass. Super thick. So I'm in the habit of taking pictures of areas, even if I don't see anything there. I'll take pictures. Like I stood there and I was doing overlapping shots all the way around in a circle, because I wanted to go back and just kind of get an idea of what kind of vegetation was there and things like that. So a couple of weeks later, after I got home, I uploaded the pictures on my computer, and I discovered I was fairly new at computers. So I'm zooming in. I'm thinking, oh, I didn't know I could do this. So I'm zooming in on the pictures, taking a look to see, what kind of vegetation was there, plants and things. And in one of the frames, and this wasn't very far from where I was standing, maybe 150 feet or so, I'm guessing, there's an image in the picture, in the upper part of the picture. And the image is, I wouldn't say it was a face. Oh, I guess maybe it would be. It looks skull-like, but it's very clear what's there. And the sun was directly overhead. I think it was about noon or 1 p.m. So the sun was directly overhead. So whatever this was obviously had deep set eyes because they're all shadowed. And you can kind of see in a couple of them that there is a shiny object in the center, like there's an eyeball there. And there's clear cheeks, a nose area, forehead. It almost, like I said, almost looks like bone in the picture. So I didn't say a whole lot. I've never put it up publicly. I've sent it out to a few people, and even Tom, messed with it. And I had a couple of people who wanted to enhance it for me, and I didn't tell them where the object was in the picture. So they went and found stuff everywhere except that very clear object that's in the picture. And one of them looks like this little mini outline of a Bigfoot. I'm thinking, oh, that's just craziness. And I've had other people send me that same picture. I think it was the same picture back in the lower part of the picture where there's nothing but shrubbery there. An outline of what looks like a Bigfoot's face. Not an outline, it's actually, you can see this face, but it's as green as, the vegetation around it. And I'm thinking, these people had no clue. I mean, they were inventing all this stuff with whatever software they're working with.
Yeah, it's amazing to me when I watch some of the things that she can do with old damaged photographs.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know to put that there? Because people look at them and says, "Oh my God, that looks just like what I remember as a kid." I remember my grandmother standing there because there was one picture that she just finished not too long ago for a lady. She had a photograph of her grandmother, and her grandmother died in 1976. So this picture was taken sometime in the early 70s, and the picture was her standing on her front porch of her house.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, she worked on that picture for a couple of months. She did it for a coworker, and the girl even commented on a flower pot that's actually in the picture, and it was kind of damaged in the original picture. But my wife even got the flower pot correct, and that girl was amazed by how have you ever seen a flower pot like that? No, I just played around with it, and that's what came out, But yeah, Photoshop is a wonderful thing, but to serious research like this, it's a disaster because somebody that's really good can put anything anywhere,
and it even goes back. I remember what you just said. Renee DeHinden and I were talking about pictures one time, and he's told me, he says, somebody could bring in 100 or 10,000 pictures of a Sasquatch, and he says, as long as there's, one person out there that says it's fake, it's never going to be accepted. And I think he was right about that.
True. And you see, when he was alive, photos were still taken on film.
Oh yeah, yeah. He taught me a lot about taking pictures with film.
Well, I saw a special on UFOs one time, and there's a famous picture of a UFO flying over a farmhouse. And once they got a hold of the negatives and the actual picture, you could see a cable, a string or something holding what looked like a hubcap up in the air. Well, now everything's digital, and there's no way to actually see the actual what the camera saw anymore.
That's why I always say, context is everything today, because if somebody produces something and says, oh, that's Bigfoot, I'll give you an example like these structures. Okay. My first question is, well, where are all the pictures of the footprints around that stuff? Because if they took the time to do all that, you're talking about not just walking up with an armload of brush and then setting it up and then walking away.
Well, there would be paths worn down.
There'd be tracks. Yeah, there'd be tracks all over the place. How come you never see that? I have never seen one picture of footprints around these things. Never.
And I'd like to say something for everybody listening out there. When you take a photograph of a footprint, lay something down beside it of a known size, because...
Like a Coke can.
A Coke can, a dollar bill.
Something that everybody's familiar with.
A big lighter. They're known, they're of a known size, Lay something down next to it, Don't use your hand. Don't just stick your foot over there, just put something of a known definite size down there, because...
Well, I'll give you a reason, Tracy, like you just made a good point. Don't put your hand or foot down there. Remember Annabeth's footprints from Texas last year? She did a great job of filming the liner tracks and everything, but she put her foot down next to one of the prints, I think in at least a couple of the pictures, and you would mistake it for a juvenile or a human footprint. When Alan went there, he did the measurements for me, and it turned out those were 14-inch footprints, which are the same size as the Patterson Sasquatch tracks. So it wasn't a juvenile. So, like you said, a Coke can or dollar bill, something that's, that we're familiar with. A foot doesn't do it because we don't know how big that person's foot is, and it can be misleading.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at. I mean, a Coke can, dollar bill, a big lighter, even your driver's license. Just, that they're all of basically the same size throughout the United States. I've lived in 4 states, and the driver's license all are identical in shape and size. Lay something down beside that footprint.
And here's another tip too. If you want to know if that's legitimate, what you found, well then follow the liner tracks, both where it went and where it came from. And if it's a continuous line, and if it goes for 100 yards or so in either direction, that's a pretty good chance that's a legitimate set of tracks. There was a guy I knew in Vancouver years ago. Renee sent him out on a track find because I was in Southern Oregon, so I couldn't go on that particular one. But he went, cast, I think, 10 or 12 of the tracks, and I questioned him. I said, did you follow the liner tracks, back and forward? No. I said, why not? Because I wasn't interested in doing it. Well, how did you know they were even legitimate? That's the whole point of doing that.
Yes, and people, you post something anywhere nowadays with computers and stuff, people are going to believe anything you post.
Right, and you should be skeptical.
Yes, I believe in having skepticism in anything. But
absolutely,
like you said, when you're talking to somebody, there's certain things they hold back. Maybe I don't think so. That's exactly how I feel.
Right.
And I don't think that. Well, I think there's a lot of crap out there. Right.
There's a lot of crap out there.
when it comes to this subject, there is a lot of crap. There's a lot of photoshopping. I actually showed what's that dude's name? The one who swears he can find Bigfoot anytime he goes into the woods.
Oh, there's a few of those.
This guy, he's been on all the Bigfoot shows, but he won't take them to where he finds them. We were talking about him when I can't remember his name, but anyways, one of the pictures that he took of a Sasquatch, I showed it to my wife. I said, "What do you think?" And she sat there and put it into her she's got a computer of her own that I don't even touch because I've been threatened with bodily harm if I did. Yeah, she's got a couple $1,000s worth of software in that thing. I know because I had to pay for it. So.
Are you talking about Todd Standing?
That's him. Yes, ma'am. That's him. Todd Standing. One of the pictures, my wife played around with it, and she said, "I think this was photoshopped in because it just don't match up." Look, she showed me on it. She said, "Look at this and look right here." And she moved the cursor a little bit. And she said, "It's not matching up. I think this was photoshopped." And now I'm no expert, and she's not either. This is a hobby of hers, and she makes money at it. But when she showed me that, I'm thinking, And some of the other stuff I've heard about him saying, I just don't think that man's, being honest.
Well, his sister is a Hollywood makeup artist, and I think we've addressed this before. Maybe before you you'd not been on that particular episode. But if you look, what gave it away immediately to me when I looked at the different heads is, first off, there's not enough the upper lip. A Bigfoot don't have lips, and all of his Bigfoot have lips, and Standing has a very pronounced Cupid's bow on his upper lip, and every one of his Bigfoot heads have Cupid bows, and just like him. And there's not enough depth between the nose and mouth, and even on the forehead for it to have been a Bigfoot. You've got to have more. There should be more width between the bottom of the nose down to the upper portion of the lip, upper lip, and it's all human ratios is what with his face, and it's not any type of proportions that you would relate to a Bigfoot.
I agree with you on that because every photo that I've seen that he's taken, the nose just didn't look right to me. I mean, that's not what I thought.
Nothing looks right, but I mean, it's a well-known fact that his sister's a Hollywood makeup artist. I mean, Will knows that, and I think.
Well, actually, both of them worked for Jim Henson for a while, and one of those pictures looks like a damn Muppet.
I didn't know that.
But to be honest, one of the pictures that he posted of a Bigfoot's face, it looked like a freaking teddy bear to me. I mean, I'm like, there's no way that is not even close,
But there's other glaring stuff out there. Like one of my favorite ones to pick on was Lapsaritis, and his mind speak. Okay, now what we do a lot of anthropological comparisons. What Bigfoot does or doesn't do compared to what other primates do. But then there's the side, I guess people call it the woo side. Things like, Moorhead apparently claims that these guys can dematerialize and go into a tree to recharge. Lapsaritis has his mind speak stuff. And my question is, okay, if you're going to do comparative stuff, when we look at all the life that's existed on this planet, my question is, number one, why would they do that? How do they have the ability to do that? And why doesn't anything else or people have the ability to do those things? Now, if you can answer those questions, I might be willing to listen.
I agree with you on that.
It's because they stepped out of the UFOs, Will.
Oh, well, that's got to be it, I mean.
Cuz, do you remember that video clip I sent you of that guy, that Rocky Mountain Sasquatch dude who was walking through the woods and you heard a cow and he lost his mind?
You heard a cow? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard a cow and lost his mind.
Yeah.
You what?
Go ahead and explain it.
There's this YouTube channel called Rocky Mountain Sasquatch, and
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, this guy was on TV and he was walking through the woods with the cameraman, and you can hear what is clearly and plainly a cow off in the distance moo. This dude lost his mind thinking it was a Sasquatch. Did you hear that? Oh my gosh. And it's like, he's got Bigfoot on the brain so bad. Everything he hears, everything he sees, it's a Bigfoot. Even a cow.
You know, now they will mimic animals, but how come you never see people actually go to the direction of where the sound comes from to verify whatever it was or was not they were hearing?
Right.
You know, that's me. It's like when you're in the field with me, you'll see me go off in a direction by myself and wonder where I'm going. If we hear something, I want to go find out. I'm going to go, you know, like Renee used to say, he used to say he was going to go grab one by the hair of its arse and drag it in. You know, you can stand around and speculate till the cows come home. No pun intended there. But unless you know, well, why the hell would you want to be on film where potentially 1 million people could see you and you look like an idiot because you didn't verify whatever it was? You know, I would say, oh, that's interesting. Let's go take a look and see if there's a cow over there. Is it a place where, that's why I talk about context. Are we in an area where there are cows? If it's up in, you know, in the mountains somewhere where there are no cows, you know, then it's suspect. If you're in a low area with
pastures, you mean actually go and do research?
Yeah, actually go and do the work. Walk your butt over there and see what it is. What there was an acronym when I was running heavy equipment. They'd say, you know, the term was goal. You know, get out and look.
Yeah.
Get out your equipment and look to see what it is. You know, go walk your butt over there and find out what it is that may or may not be there.
Well, you know, guys, I got to tell you something. The job that I have now, I have to be in the work at 5 a.m. So I usually get up about 3, you know, take a shower, get dressed, drink me a cup of coffee. And a lot of mornings I'll go out and I'll stand on my porch or just go prop up on the hood of my truck and just, I like looking for the International Space Station. I see it a lot. It passes over, you know, and the Chinese Space Station too, you know. But, about 2 weeks ago, I was standing out there and I started hearing a strange noise in the woods, back down behind my house. Sounded like it was maybe 100 yards away, but I've never heard anything. I still don't know what that was, and I didn't have my phone with me so I could record it or anything.
What did it sound like?
So, yeah.
Was it an animal sound or a metallic or like a machine sound?
It was an animal sound. It was something out there. Sounded like it was. Have you ever heard a white-tailed deer when they bleat? You know.
Yeah.
It sounded similar to that, but it was a lot more powerful, I guess you'd call it. A lot, like, really loud, and it did it several times, and I thought I heard something moving through the brush, so I ran back in the house because I'm still kind of spooky at night, you know, when it's dark out. I went back in the house, and I forgot where I put my pistol. I was looking for it. And when I went back out on the porch, I carried my phone with me this time, and I turned it on, and all I heard was, you know, crickets chirping and stuff. I didn't hear it again. So I don't know what that was, but back about 100 yards behind my house, there's a pond that's on private property, and there's a lot of swampy land around that pond. So I don't know what it was. I've never in my life heard anything make a noise like that thing made, or whatever it was. I mean,
you know, sometimes there are situations where you'll hear something and maybe you physically can't go look at it, but then you don't go out and say, "Oh my God, that was Bigfoot." And I'll give you an example. Back, and I can't remember what year it was, probably 20 years ago. A group of us were camped up on the Quinault River in Washington. And when you go up, it's about 13 miles from Highway 101 when you go along the river on the north side, where the river splits. And there's a campground, kind of a larger campground on one side, the southern side, And on the other side, there used to be 7 little camp spots, so we were camped there. And there's a big rock ridge that actually divides that part of the river, so that's why there's the 2 branches. After dinner, we walked up to where there's a ranger station that's manned only part of the year, and there was nobody up there that particular time. And on the way back, we heard something just across the river on that slope from us, and it was close, and it was so loud. It just reverberated off the canyon walls up there. It was so loud. Everybody, you could hear people all over the place commenting about this scream. And I've heard Bigfoot screams before, and I'm pretty certain that's what this was, but I couldn't go over there and actually verify it. Number one, because you couldn't cross the river. It was almost dark, and it was just nothing but rock and trees over there, so you wouldn't have seen any kind of prints or anything anyhow. But in most cases, I mean, like in that particular video you were talking about, Dave, it was, the guy heard the cow. Well, he was probably in a position where he could have actually gone and looked to see, or at least, had some idea what the area was like. Were there farms nearby? Were there pastures? Things like that.
Yep.
But you can't always check, but most of the time you probably can.
Yeah, and I'd like to stress that I'm not saying that was a Bigfoot that I heard. I heard a strange noise that I can't personally identify. I wish I had my phone with me because it was loud enough so I could have recorded it.
Right.
But I don't know what it was, but it was strange, and it didn't last very long. But it sounded, you've heard the Moorhead gibberish stuff?
Mm-hmm.
There were several seconds in all that noise it was making where it sounded like somebody talking.
Well,
now, there are
no
people that live
like
close to that pond. They could have been out there doing something. I don't know. I don't know them personally. But
they're not
I
friends?
just know it was, huh?
They're not friends?
No, no, where I live, their property, this is the back side of their property that kind of butts up to where we live.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know it was I know where they live. I know where their house is. I didn't know this was their property until about a year ago. And they could have been back there by that pond doing something. I've walked back there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Before, but it's really rough walking. It's really thick brush and it's swampy. And so, I just said, well, there ain't no place for me to be. I didn't even know who owned the property at that time.
So how I kind of learned about really looking to make sure what it is you're hearing, verifying it, is I remember many years ago being out in the woods doing this work in an area that I thought nobody was there because it was remote. And I heard some noises that sounded kind of like that. And I thought, oh, geez, there might be one up here. So as I moved towards the noise quietly, I found, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 kids that were probably 13, 14 years old goofing around this little pond. But it sounded just like animal noises, what the noises that were coming in my direction. And it was just like, oh, geez, what a letdown. Yeah. But, again, if you were just to record that, you'd have all these questions and nothing was ever verified, but it would be repeated over and over again in Facebook groups like it is with pictures, when it was simple just to kind of sneak up on whatever was making the noise and see what it is.
That's one of the reasons I'm not on Facebook. I was on it long enough to meet my wife. But I got on Facebook because a certain person that I went to school with lives like 4 miles down the road from me and used to ride by me and blow the horn and wave at me and everything, And when I got on Facebook and she found me, it was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you in years. I'm like, wait a minute. You just blew the horn at me yesterday when I was standing at my mailbox. Why couldn't you have stopped and said, hey, Trace, I ain't seen you since school. I'm like, I don't need this. So that's when I got away from Facebook. And a lot of the stuff that people post there, I think it's crap,
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm by no means a serious researcher in this. This is something that interests me because of what happened to me. I like talking to you guys and listening to other people's stories because I really would like in my lifetime to find out what these things are. You know, what is their evolutionary chain? Where did they come from?
Well, David just told you they can dematerialize and go into trees and recharge.
Yeah. I did that one time when I was 15 years old riding a dirt bike and hit a tree. My dad standing there looking at me. He said, "Do you think you can go through that damn oak tree?" And my uncle said, "I think you did."
You know, when I was a kid, the guy who owned the property that we rented, we had 40 acres on the Puyallup River, and the old guy that owned property was super nice. He'd always come out and visit us, and he brought me a Schwinn bike one time, and you know, of course, my dad wasn't around a lot. He was off working and doing other stuff. And my mom says, "Well, you know, when I get a chance, I'll show you how to ride it." Well, me being as impatient as I was, you know, I asked her questions. She says, "Well, you know, you just need to get your balance and then start pedaling." Didn't say nothing about the brake. So what I do, we had a little slope that went down the driveway. I'm out there and I get on the bike and I start pedaling. I'm thinking, well, hell, I can do this. I raced on down to the next, there were only 2 other houses on that road, it's a dirt road. And there was an old lady who lived down the next house. And I rode down to her place and I'm like, crap, how do I stop? And I ended up going through her fence. Well, that was one way of stopping.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed stop.
It was one of those, you know, those rail fences, the wood rail.
Oh yeah, the good solid ones.
The good solid ones. That might explain a few things today, but
like that guy in that movie, Dance with Wolves, when he raises up and hits his head on the wagon after he pokes him in the butt with that stick. Dang, that's going to leave a welt.
Yeah, that's going to leave a mark. Well,
oh man,
that's what happens when you're not patient.
Oh yeah. Well, when I did that where I think I went through a tree, when I was young, I used to race dirt bikes, motocross, and my grandfather had some property, and he let me cut some trails out through there so I could, you know, race and practice and everything. And we had a race coming up that weekend. My dad, my uncle, and I think there was several of my family members come out there with me, you know, while I'm running around that little short track that we'd cut out through there. And I just totally missed a turn, and there's a big ass oak tree. I'm talking this tree, 3 people couldn't wrap their arms around it, you know. And I just totally went off that turn and I hit the tree. I tore my bike up. I couldn't race that weekend. And my dad comes running up, "Are you all right?" And I just looked at him, and my uncle said, "I think he's okay." And then my dad says, "Damn, boy, did you think you could go through that tree?" And my uncle said, "Tom, I think he did go through that tree." I'm still trying to figure out what tree they were talking about.
Well, so you dematerialized and recharged, so you weren't aware of that tree.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess that's what happened to me. I mean, I couldn't figure it out for a long time. Where'd that damn tree come from? And what tree are they talking about?
I still can't believe that people would actually believe that. You know, the dematerializing and going into a tree to recharge.
I can't believe it's out on TV.
Oh, that's even more. I mean, that right there, I mean, I can't even describe how that makes me feel because, you know, first of all, I've never seen anything in my life except an Alka-Seltzer dematerialized.
I mean, you know, you make you wonder, you know, some people sit around and they just imagine this stuff, you know.
I guess they think they live in the Star Wars universe or something or other.
Well, you know, that's a problem too, especially, I mean, with all the different kinds of, now, they don't understand that movies are entertainment. You know, these are fictional things, you know, but they get caught up in this stuff. And and then start believing it's real or portions of it are real.
Yeah, now I'm going to tell you, I enjoyed the Star Wars movies. I saw the first one when I was like 10 years old, and I've watched every one they came out with until the last 3 or 4 that came out. I watched one of them and I'm like, this crap, this ain't even close to
Yeah, they're not very good anymore.
But even back then, even when I was 10, 11, 12 years old and watching these space fighters fly around in space, I knew that's not how spaceships move in space.
Right.
That's nothing like what is actually happening in outer space. A ship ain't gonna move like that. But it was still entertaining,
Well, it's like those Star Trek shows, where they go to warp speed and all of a sudden everybody's going back like they're in a car doing 100 miles an hour down the road, and like, okay, there's no gravitational force that's going to work on you in space like that.
Yeah, it doesn't,
But it was for TV,
I believe I read somewhere that the Apollo astronauts reported that when they did their translunar injection to leave Earth's orbit to head to the moon and fired that big rocket engine, that they felt approximately 3/4 to maybe 1 G of force.
It was very little,
and
yeah.
It was little, So, but movies are entertaining, and that's what I always took them as. I mean, it's fun to fantasize about, but dematerializing,
and why would you go into
move like World War II fighters?
I want to know why. How is it? Okay, now what is it? What's the properties of a tree? Why would you go into a tree to recharge? Oh, because that's why
easier than going into a clover. I don't know.
Because that's why they're not seen. See, that's
don't make me laugh too hard, Dave. That shit hurts, man. Sorry about my French, but still got an open wound. It hurts.
I'm sorry, buddy.
No, man, you good. Oh boy.
Oh, see, he's kicking you while you're down, Tracy, because of the
that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. You just wait till I get my lawnmower ready, buddy. You just wait. Hey, I'm putting a turbocharger on my lawnmower.
Forrest, you're not saying much.
Come on, Miss Forrest, jump in now. Let's hear something.
Well, I don't have a riding lawnmower, so I can't turbocharge it. So,
me and Dave are gonna cut your grass for free.
I think you're gonna have to referee, Forrest. I think you're gonna have to referee these two.
Yeah.
I have to do more than referee.
Oh man, y'all gotta stop it. Oh. Man, oh man, what a crew.
I'm still on dematerializing and stepping into a tree.
I guess maybe we should go out sometime and just catalog all these crazy ideas and theories out there. And, it's not to beat somebody up, but it's like, come on, guys, let's use some gray matter here for a change on a subject instead of some wild fantasy, because you can't explain things in normal mundane terms. You've got to come up with some crazy theory to explain why you can't answer questions of a normal flesh and blood creature.
Well, I mean, which is crazier, thinking that or saying it to a television audience?
Hell, I wouldn't tell my friends that. And we talk about some crazy stuff once in a while.
I might tell some of my friends that just to mess with them,
Well, yeah, I mean, that could be fun.
Well, look at all the people, the flute players, the mind speak stuff and craziness like that. I don't know of anybody or anything that can mind speak, but maybe I'm missing out on something. Maybe I'm just not too intuitive. I don't know.
You're just not in the loop.
I guess not.
I think we all missing out on something when it comes to mind speak. I mean, that's just,
right.
I mean, there ain't no real Jedi Knights anywhere. You can't people can't do that. Animals can't do that. Dematerializing, like I said, the only thing I ever seen dematerialize was an Alka-Seltzer. That's a good idea you had, Will. Let's catalog all this stuff and talk about it. Let's put all these crazy ideas together and say, does this make sense?
No, I think that's a good idea.
What about
all this stuff gets to run rampant without being checked. Well, maybe we should do some checking.
Yeah.
That is a very good idea. I like that idea. I mean, because some of the stuff I've seen, I start reading it, and I get about half a paragraph in, I'm all right, no, screw this, I don't even finish reading it.
Your brain starts to dematerialize.
Yeah, it really does. I'm like, whoa, my brain is dematerializing here.
Oh my God, I'm losing brain cells here. I'm hemorrhaging.
Yeah, if I want to lose brain cells, I'll drink beer. I mean, come on, man.
You'll have fun doing it, right?
Yeah, don't give me no crap like this. Dematerializing and UFOs and portals and stuff. Come on now, be for real, people. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't UFOs, because I've seen some strange things in the sky, but I don't believe that there was no UFOs put Sasquatch down here. And I get that from that TV show, The $6 Million Man, back in the 70s,
right?
Where Sasquatch was a alien. No, they're animals. Don't try to, you feed me a whole bunch of crap, but come on now, we're getting deep on that.
You get the waiters on. Did you ever hear one, Tracy?
Guys, we sit around and laugh about this stuff, but I guess the point I was trying to make earlier is that there are people that actually believe this stuff,
Oh yeah.
And that's what scares me.
That's what is scary and disturbing to me, is that people end up, Bigfoot can be my friend and I can just invite him in. Well, you know what? I ain't inviting any of mine in, and what I saw that night, no, I'm not inviting them in, and so I'm not gonna sit him down and talk to him like I'm Freud or something. No, that ain't happening. But and I'm not going out in the woods to follow them around, follow a troop of them around to see, to study their social gatherings either. So somebody else can be stupid and do that, because I think doing that with chimpanzees is dangerous enough. I couldn't even imagine trying to do that with Bigfoot.
Miss Forrest, would you at least recommend that they don't carry beans with them?
Now you got to be specific. Cans of beans.
Oh,
canned, yeah. Not that it has to be canned.
It'd be kind of messy if they were just carrying beans in their hands. I'm trying to picture this, guys. And to what end?
On another note,
that's the right brand.
Maybe we should figure out who wants to play Forrest when you make the movie of it.
You made a good point though about trying to follow them around to study like that. How would you ever, as a human, even hope to keep up with the group to observe them, and then to observe them without them knowing you were there to taint whatever the results are?
Well, you wouldn't, and I mean it's. And I even, I'll tell you, even with, I don't care how good a primatologist or anthropologist or whatever you are, once you interact with a group of, whether it be people or apes or anything, you have actually tainted the whole situation.
Yeah, you've altered the results.
They never act the same. I mean, once they realize you're there, I mean, they'll go through some natural behavior, but it's automatically different. Yeah, because they're all of a sudden, they're aware that you're there. Now I have to give them, the ladies credit, for going out there with chimpanzees and even gorillas, Basile with the gorillas. I mean, those ladies really tried to make an effort to not be interacting so much. But, it's impossible once they know they're there. And it's like, I was watching this, I told you about the group that was on TV, and the guy, how they were this whole group of males that they were going out to do some damage to, just to the first thing they came across. And it just so happened it was a lone chimpanzee. But I mean, here's this primatologist following them, and he was so intrigued about the fact the way they walked, and they lifted their feet and then placed them down so quietly so that they were silent, and then they were looking up in the trees to see if there was anybody up there in the trees that would announce their appearance. But I thought, well, you're right behind him, and I know damn well you're not being real quiet. So how is this, And then in the next breath, and he's like, oh, he's backing off, because then when they get into this, orgy of fury and rage and stuff, they're beating up this other chimpanzee that they'd been tracking. He steps back and he gets out of it, because he knows that once they get into that mode,
they could turn on him.
They could turn on him, because here he is, the single primatologist out there, So, and I rewatched that episode with the guys that, went to that nature preserve. Remember that got the chimpanzees got out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was 31 of them that got out, and they managed to get 27 of them back in, but the ringleader and 3 others are still out there in the woods, but they or the forest. They had attacked this group of scientists that had just come over there to visit one day, and they killed the driver and I think one other person, and badly injured 2 of these scientists. And they were just over there to, hey, let's go look at the chimpanzees one day, and that's what happened that day. So,
and unbeknownst to most people, those are the very same kind of scenarios that can happen with a Sasquatch. You go out there just wandering around, and like I see pictures of these people, these groups, Bigfoot groups, and it looks like they're having a party in the woods. And not such a good thing if you're in the wrong place.
Miss Forrest, I have a question for you. Serious question. I've touched a chimpanzee one time at, some kind of zoo or something I went to when I was a kid. How difficult or how easy would it be for a person to sneak up on one chimpanzee to watch him, and then how easy would it be, or how difficult would it be to sneak up on a group of chimpanzees just to observe them without them knowing you're there?
Well, it wouldn't be very easy to sneak up on a troop at all, because they've always got, lookouts posted.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually it's beta males that are young beta males that are posted out there, and what their responsibility is to keep an eye out for danger. And now in a situation where you've got a solitary animal, depending on what the situation is with that particular solitary animal, you might be able to sneak up on it. But I don't think that I don't think humans are that good at hiding themselves. And I'm sure there's good trackers in the world, but I don't know.
I hate to say it, but we're out of time, guys. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Stop by next week around the campfire.